What's up, good people? Welcome to my movie review of the brand new drama film Steve Jobs. So obviously Steve Jobs is based on the real life of Steve Jobs, the co-founder of Apple, which is like the biggest company in the world right next to Walmart. So in the title role of Steve Jobs is Michael Fassbender. The movie is directed by Danny Boyle and the film is written by Aaron Sorkin. So Steve Jobs, I really didn't know what to expect going into this movie. I actually don't know that much about Steve Jobs, but besides the fact, that he's like considered a visionary and one of the co-founders of Apple. So I was pretty much intrigued to see this movie to, kind of learn a lot more about Steve Jobs, the man, learn about his life, learn about everything that happened, around Apple and the founding of Apple and how it pretty much blew up to be like the biggest company in the world today. And did I get that? Not necessarily, not from what I've heard, but I did get a really good film out of this. So the Steve Jobs film is centered around three major launches that happened within the life of Steve Jobs. The first major launch event, which takes place in Act 1, is the launch of the Macintosh. The second launch event was the NeXT computer. That was pretty much the company that Steve Jobs was a part of after he got fired from Apple, and a new computer system that he came up on his own to combat Apple. And then the third launch event, which takes place in the third act, is the launch of the iMac, which pretty much revolutionized computers and put Apple on the map. So with these three major launch events as like the centerfold of the movie, it really had an emotional weight to it. So much of the movie focused on the relationship between Steve Jobs and his daughter, his illegitimate daughter. It also focused on the relationships that he had to the people that were close to him, such as Steve Wozniak. Now let's be truthful about it. The movie is 2 hours of nothing but talking and dialogue. Like, that's legitimately it. 2 hours of dialogue. And I know what you're thinking, that's probably like a bad thing and it might make the movie boring, but that's not the case at all. It's actually very, very entertaining. And that's because the characters in this movie are able to hold their own and they have very, very intriguing dialogue, very interesting dialogue amongst each other. It's very funny, it's very emotional, it's also just very, very, enjoyable to watch. One, kudos has to be given to Michael Fassbender. I thought he did an incredible job. I mean, to be truthfully honest, they made Steve Jobs look like a huge, huge dick. Whether he was that or not in real life, I don't know. But for Michael Fassbender to play Steve Jobs and be this huge asshole that they made him out to be in this movie made a lot of sense. He did an incredible job at doing it. Also in the movie, you got Kate Winslet, Seth Rogen, who did incredible performances as well. I really enjoyed them in their role playing a supporting role to Michael Fassbender, Steve Jobs, and they all had incredibly good chemistry with each other. You also have Jeff Daniels as John Sculley, which was the former CEO of Apple when Steve Jobs was beginning the foundations of the Macintosh and Apple as a company, and their dynamic between each other was just electric. I thought that they had the best moments in the movie. John Sculley and Steve Jobs, Michael Fassbender and Jeff Daniels playing off of each other. I feel like they had some of the best chemistry in the movie. Like I said, because it takes place at these launch events, backstage at these launch events, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of like Steve Jobs commanding and ordering people to do things, while he's having these deep, deep dialogue conversations with these other people that are important in his life. But again, it's very, very intriguing dialogue, so you gotta give props to the writing team, especially Aaron Sorkin, who were able to make this, an extremely interesting movie purely based off the dialogue. So I mean, with that said, all in all, I really enjoyed the movie. But here's the thing, I've heard several reports that many of the things that happened in the movie are actually not completely true. And I'm not gonna spoil anything for those of you who have not seen it. However, there are reports that many things, many pivotal moments in the movie, many pivotal plot lines are not even actually, true events. So that's kind of disappointing. I think for audiences, when they go to see a movie about a person, they go to learn a little bit more about that person and the things that they encountered in their life besides what's just always plastered in the media. But if you get a movie that's completely dramatized, you don't get that opportunity. And that could surely be disappointing. I mean, I would understand the disappointment in fans' eyes, to see that this was not really, much of a non-fictional movie as it was, with a lot of fictional elements in it. So I think with audiences, you have to pretty much decide for yourself, like, am I gonna get over that many of the things in this movie probably didn't happen? Or am I going to be very, very anal about it and just kind of like pick it apart because I know a lot of this stuff didn't happen? You pretty much just got to pick a side and then disseminate the movie from there. Me personally, I don't necessarily know how I feel about it. I think you have to really evaluate it for yourself. But, I still have to say that I enjoyed the movie, even if many things that happened in the movie didn't actually happen in real life. The movie was very, very entertaining and the writing was brilliant. So maybe, we can get like another documentary about Steve Jobs. I mean, I'm sure there's like a ton already, but you know, who knows, maybe we can get something a little bit more historically accurate for accuracy purposes. But if you're looking for, you know, historical accuracy in this film, this is probably not the movie for you. But if you're looking for a very good drama film with great characters and great writing, then I think Steve Jobs is something to go check out. So with all of that said, my rating for Steve Jobs is going to be an 8.2 out of 10. You know, like I said, for the brilliant writing, the incredible characters and cast, you know, Jeff Daniels, Seth Rogen, Kate Winslet, and Michael Fassbender, really, you know, the four pillars of this movie held it down completely. All right, folks, that's all I got for my review of Steve Jobs. As always, go check me out on social media at JRW the Creator on Twitter and Instagram, and then go check out my website, JordanRWilliams.com. And as always, folks, I'll see y'all next time.